Hi, this is Lisa from Studio Evergarden. Today I'd like to tell you about a banana. No, not an actual banana, the animated banana. Yes, that's right. Hope you didn't get a jump scare. So it all began with the prompt. A grumpy banana slips on an orange peel. I made a couple sketches to get the idea, but I realized that I've been spending way too much time in Procreate, and I'd like to work with a new program. So this time around, I decided to try out a new program that I recently learned about called Live 2D Cubism. It's often used in Japanese animation projects as well as games. So I went ahead and opened my iPad and went to Photoshop, and that's where I drew this banana. It looks a little grumpy, doesn't it? After completing it on the iPad, I thought it would be a good idea to bring it into the PC so I'd have more access to different tools and be able to see more clearly what kind of layers I made. You can see more on my original experience with Adobe Photoshop for the iPad here. Here in 2021, the iPad version of Adobe Photoshop has had its version updates, and it's easy enough to just export the PSD just like you would in Procreate to the base version of Photoshop for PC. So I went ahead and did that and checked over all my layers, making sure that they're all separated just like the template. It's important to make sure that your model is like a puppet. Basically, the way I've understood how Live 2D Cubism works is it's basically more of a puppeteering kind of software. So you need to make sure that your character has all the different parts. It's different from traditional animation where you would be making frame by frame and kind of tracing over what you had done in the previous frame in order to create a new frame. Basically, it creates a rigging system for your model. So, for example, you can see that I first set up the mesh, and that's really important. And of course, the program does make it easy to do that. If you look through their tutorials, it will show you how to basically just press a button and it automatically creates a default mesh, which will allow you to control the polygons of the element of your model. So basically that means the shape that you're working with is broken into little triangles, and you're going to be able to mold those triangles into whatever shape you like, and that creates the animation, basically. But of course, you have to set up the entire model first, which took me 3 days, a lot longer than I normally spend animating things. It was surprising how long it took me to get everything to be set up correctly with the model, and I actually had to go back into Photoshop and edit my original file and then re-import it, create a new project in Live 2D Cubism about 3 times in order to get the results I wanted, especially with the eyes. Originally, as you can see, the eyes had a outline on them, but when I started messing with the polygons, it started to look really bad. So I thought, let's remove the outline, make it more simple, and get rid of that. And also, he didn't have any eyebrows, or I don't know. This banana just doesn't have any eyebrows at the beginning, and they get
banana eyebrows later. I mean, I don't know. Does a banana have eyebrows? This one does.
Because it's supposed to be grumpy, right? How are you supposed to show the banana being grumpy without any eyebrows? And there was already a toggle for it, so I just went ahead and threw some eyebrows in there and then re-imported it again. Basically, the only areas that I really continued to edit and then have to re-import were the eye and mouth areas. I also realized that the mouth should be able to open based on the tutorials I watched. So I thought, all right, well then let's just go ahead and create an open mouth. If you watch other tutorials, especially from Japanese artists doing this animation in the program and setting up their rigged model, it's kind of insane how far they go into it. This is just my first project ever. I'm trying to keep things simple, but nothing's ever simple, is it? So I got the eyes to be able to open and close and all the layers in the right order so that the pupils weren't sticking out of the eyeballs. I mean, basically, it felt like I was puppeteering rather than drawing out new frames like I would normally do. I think I've definitely improved my workflow in that area, though it is a lot more intensive for my hands drawing on the iPad doing that. But this is also intensive. This takes so much time. I was really shocked. I thought it would be an improvement in my workflow to work with this program, but right now it's like I'm still trying to learn how to use it, so maybe that's part of the problem. But also, just it's not as easy as it looks. I got the idea to try using this program from watching Belle, which is called Ryuto Sobakasu no Hime in Japanese, and my husband and I went to go watch it in the theater, and at the end, rolling credits, they had live 2D Cubism listed as one of their main software that they use to create some of the animated sequences in that film. So I was like, oh, let me just look that up, and realized, oh, it's free, so I'm gonna try that, because hey, free is a great price. I mean, when you think about it that way, it's not a huge waste of, like, it wasn't a waste of money, it was mostly like just a lot of time that I didn't expect I would need to put into this project. And of course, because of that, due to time constraints, after 3 days, we finally got to the animation portion. So you're pulling in the model that you've already created, and that's a separate file. So you need to make sure if you're reopening that animation file that you're opening the animation file and not the model file, because I kept doing that and then getting confused. Yeah, they're separate. One is yellow and one is orange. Orange is the model, yellow is the animated file, the animation studio, basically. It's almost like working with a video editing program, just like I'm doing right now. So here we are in the animation, and I learned a lot from this process as well. First of all, I didn't realize that it didn't already have a white background. So when I first exported my animation, it was not expecting that, especially since I left a lot of the texture around the edge of the banana untouched. I did not clean it up, so it looks really gross. But once I put something in the background, that did help. That was something I learned last. So going back to when we began all this, you're setting up the animation, the rigged animation you've already created from the model. So for example, the eye movement, there's an eye movement toggle. And if you've done it right, then you basically record that toggle moving, and that ends up on the timeline. So you can like make layers of these toggles moving, and then that creates an animation of various different parts of the model, such as the eyes, the mouth, the shoulders. If you see some of the examples they made, I mean, they look really lifelike sometimes, because I'm sure they have at least 10 layers of movement going on. Basically, if you know how to do a puppet, or if you know how to set up like a puppet in real life, you might have a better sense of this program. For me, it felt a little bit foreign, just because I'm used to drawing out the frames, frame by frame. I guess that's the style I prefer, is what I've learned from this process. I was able to create movement that was very jerky and not very subtle at all. To be real, I know that this is not exactly perhaps what you would expect from somebody working with this kind of high-level program, but hey, it's my first time working with it. I think that I really got a better idea of what it's like to work in animation, like nowadays versus the past. Like, I grew up in the 90s and 2000s, and yeah, I wasn't even thinking I would do it digitally. So it's nice at least that there's other options for tools that still create a similar feeling. Honestly, when I look at it, it doesn't look like handmade touch that you get from like Ghibli films or early Disney films. It definitely looks almost too smooth sometimes. From what I understand also, the models don't have to be put into the animation within Live 2D. You can also export them into Unity. That would be something to experiment more with in the future, but for now, I think, as you can see, I'm still a ultra beginner. I watched a tutorial for beginners, air quotes, that was like way past what I was able to do this time around, and I wanted to do more of like a full scene, but I just felt like I ran out of time to work on it. I think if I was going to work with this software again, I would focus on creating a character that's more in alignment with their templates, rather than going off on a limb like I did with this project with a banana of all things. Maybe you learned how to animate a banana. I mean, technically I completed the goal, right? I animated a banana, but not to the extent that I had intended to animate the banana to.
I wanted it to be able to flip and fall on an orange peel, and then the orange comes out, but then that means I have to make 2 character models, and it already took me 3 days to make this one, and it's still janky, so I just thought, you know what, let's just be done with this one.
That is my spiel on the Grumpy Banana. I hope you enjoyed my story. If you like the wallpapers featured in the screenshots and screen caps of my iPad, you might enjoy becoming a patron. Patrons get featured at the end of these videos, and they also have access to free wallpapers that I create. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching. What would a banana's mouth look like? That was where I was at. Like, what color should it be? I don't know. You know how much I love Procreate. I just gotta add it to everything, like salt.